Hello, I'm Maree Seerden. I'm based in Auckland and I'm the Polestar licensee and also senior educator. And I also have with me Abbey Parsons, our senior educator in Christchurch and host site. So in a moment, we'll both talk a little bit about our backgrounds. We've got a slide each, which brings us all in that will tell you a little bit about our background. And I think a couple of things that I always say to somebody that's looking at doing the training course is to kind of ask yourself the question of what brings you here and what makes you want to be a teacher. So that's something I think is really important to really, have a journal or write down and just really understand what draws you to be a teacher. And the other thing, by talking to you, it sounds like you've got clear goals already, but often I like people to really have a plan or have a journal and to write down what your visions are, what your goals are, how you see yourself, where, some of you are thinking, I'm going to start my Pilates journey with Matt, and you've got a trajectory already, and that's awesome, and that you see yourself on a journey. So that's really important. And just, those sorts of things like if I sign up for a course, do I have access to the equipment? Where am I going to go to practice? And understanding that you've got a mentor team around you. We've got mentors throughout New Zealand. So for Deborah and Gisborne, we've got a great mentor down there for you. So it's just making sure that you're really clear on what you want to do. And that does evolve as you start your training. Sometimes we have people that are career changers. They might be coming from being an accountant, coming into the course, and they're like, well, I'm just doing this for my own self. I just want to know more about Pilates. But that evolves and changes the more they go into the work, that actually they do want to become a teacher and they do evolve. So it's just having that clear picture. So can you all see my screen? Can you see the Polestar slide?
Yep.
Great. So a little bit about Polestar in the background. So I'll talk about the founder, Brent Anderson, who's based in the US. And we all know what Pilates is. So the slide on the right is what is Pilates. The left slide is on Polestar and how it developed its name. It was developed with Brent Anderson and Ken Endelman, who's the founder of Balanced Body Equipment in the US. And this was the dream that the name of the company would be Polestar. It's related to the North Star, and it's a vision of reaching out towards the star, towards your journey to where you want to go.
So I'll tell you a wee story. A couple of years ago, it was the 30th anniversary of Polestar. So as an education company, we had our 30th anniversary of providing teacher training, and we had an educator meeting on Brent's farm in North Carolina. And one thing that really struck me when I was there out on his land was the North Star is like right up in the sky. And I found it really interesting that he'd chosen that piece of land with this amazing view of the Polestar North Star. So every night he can see it from where he lives.
It's a cool story. Thank you. So what we're going to be talking about is about Polestar Global. I've got some recordings of some of our students that will tell a little bit about their journey. We'll look at the courses, the MAT, the Reformer, and the Comprehensive. We'll just confirm the 2026 course dates, the fees, what happens after graduation, and then leading into continuing education. I'll talk to you about our faculty throughout New Zealand. I'll show you a demonstration of the Polestar learning platform, and then a little bit about Pilates Aotearoa, which is a governing body within New Zealand, and then we can ask some questions. So I'm Maree, and so I'm looking after Polestar New Zealand with the faculty team. So have a wonderful team of mentors throughout New Zealand. So I've been teaching for actually it's more than 30 years now, but I'm celebrating 30 years within New Zealand. So I started my Pilates journey when I was on my OE. I was in London in the late 80s. Starting to show my age that I had my first Pilates lesson in 1987 at the Body Control Studios in London. So from there, I moved into becoming a apprentice. And back in those days, there wasn't a company that offered official training. In those days, you worked alongside a master trainer who was Gordon Thompson. So I was a client for 3 years, and then I was moved into the capacity of an instructor, which was very terrifying. But anyway, I knew that I needed to learn a lot about the body. So I studied massage, of learning to use my hands. It gave me the anatomy and physiology background. I learned to use my hands, and with that, other modalities such as Alexander technique, and lots of other movement and energy medicine work to then enhance my learning background. In 1995, I moved back to New Zealand, and there was no Pilates here at the time. So it was very much a pioneering time of introducing Pilates to New Zealand. So I started a small studio at home, and then I had to learn to talk to media, talk to magazines, talk to newspapers, and got a lot of publicity, and then opened the Body Studio in 1996 in Auckland. So I had that studio up until about 3 or 4 years ago when COVID hit, and I didn't renew my lease. And so I'm now here in a smaller boutique studio. It's at the back of my house. It was only meant to be a temporary measure of staying here, but actually, Emily Adams, who works with me, we actually loved it so much, and so did the clients, that we were able to look out to a garden. It was very peaceful, very restful. It's small, so we work very intimately. We work with all the studio equipment, so we do private sessions, we do small group sessions, and we're really loving it. But I do know there's a time that I'm going to have to move on and actually build the studio back up. And, we're discussing that of opening a Polestar studio in Auckland. Um, I've graduated with lots of different companies. In my search and my journey, I was an apprentice, and then I was traveling backwards and forwards to Australia to see if I could learn more through the associations over there. I still knew I needed to learn more. So Stott came from Canada down to Auckland. So I did their course, and it was great, but I still knew I needed to learn more. And eventually I saw that Polestar Pilates was offering a training course in Australia in Adelaide. So I traveled to Adelaide and did my course there. So studied in back then it was called post rehabilitation. It's the comprehensive course. I did the mat training, and I also did the reformer course. It was an interesting time because as you go into the training with us, you're going to learn the background of the science that and the research that comes into Polestar's teaching. And I had a lot of the Paul Hodges and neurophysios that are part of our research, and I was part of their cohort, which was an interesting time. So that's a little bit about me, and I brought Polestar into New Zealand in 2000, and that's when Vanessa Vetti trained with us. There was a large amount of people that were looking to do training, so that's when I introduced Polestar to New Zealand. I think, Abbey, you were one of the original students too, back in the early days as well. So that's a little bit about me. And so I'm going to hand over to Abbey. If you could tell us a little bit about your background, please.
Hi everyone. So I originally was a ballet dancer. That's what I wanted to do. And so I was first introduced to Pilates in about 1995 as a student here in Christchurch, and we had this amazing teacher come back from the Australian Ballet School where she had learned Pilates, and she sort of taught us. And to be honest with you, when I first started and she was teaching us, I didn't love it. I found it was a bit slow. It's a very common story. And then when I went up to the School of Dance, I'd actually broken my foot before I went. And so I spent a lot of time in the Pilates studio. So it was the one way that I felt I could move my whole body without being on my foot. And I think I spent more time in the Pilates studio and the swimming pool than I did in the ballet studio. And so consequently, I decided to retrain as a nurse. In my early, well, I was 19 or 20 or something. So I did all of my nursing training and got my degree, which then took me to Melbourne for my new grad program. And when I was in Melbourne, I sort of really missed the movement. So I found a studio there that was sort of like a yoga and Pilates gym. And I was a client there for some time, and then they were offering this teacher training. And so it's a small world. The man who taught me was actually later a teacher in Maree's studio in Auckland, and he had done the body control training that Maree had done, Brenton. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and so he did my first course, and that was my first kind of short teacher training, which I loved. Anyway, fast track, got back to Christchurch after some travel and different things in about 2006, and landed a job knowing very little. But because I'd been a dancer and because I'd done this training with this person with body control, um, I was given this job, but I was out of my depth. And so that was when I sort of started to search out Polestar. And I had sort of been involved with Maree's studio when I lived in Auckland doing my nursing training and things, and had been a client at the studio. So anyway, and so I did my course in 2007. We ran our first Christchurch course in, I think, 2008, 2009. And so I've been with Polestar all of that time. And I am just so passionate about their philosophy. I'm passionate about the way they present their education. And I am always so excited about the caliber of teachers that we provide that graduate with us. I also love to travel, and it's been a really great career to be able to travel with and for. So, yeah.
cool. Well, we've traveled, Abby and I have traveled a lot together. We kind of we went on a great trip, didn't we? Just
We have.
3 years ago to the US. So
Yeah.
we went to the 30th party at Brent's got it. He used to be based in Miami, and now there's a Southwind Park farm in North Carolina. So we had a great trip together and explored some studios in Los Angeles as well, and as in New York. So
Mm.
it was an amazing time. So, and to be part of that international community, which I'll talk about in a sec. I wanted to do a quick intro to Emily because Emily's sort of very much works strongly with the three of us as part of our senior educator, as well as Joe Hutley. The team have been together for a long time, and Emily's also Auckland based, and she works quite closely with me, helping me to coordinate the courses. She works very closely with the students, and making sure that, they're on the right path. And so she's the support person as well. Um, she also comes from a dance background and started her Polestar journey in 2014. And Emily and I have worked together. She works in my studio here in Auckland. She works a lot with mentoring our students. So here's another face of someone that works closely with guiding the students through their journey. So, a little bit about Polestar. We've mentioned that it was founded 30 years ago, and the founder is Brent Anderson. So, it's the only Pilates education company that's founded and led by a PhD physiotherapist. So, the beauty is that we have the science and we have a whole committee of people globally that it's important to always understand the latest research, and even around things, the research that we were teaching 15 years ago with core control when teachers, we were teaching navel to spine and cueing the abdominals and the volitional contraction. But all of that research has changed. And so bringing in the current research where it's not so much about a voluntary contraction, but it's actually more about a spontaneous and more of a more global queuing for clients. So we also have a very holistic approach as well as a very scientific approach with the latest research, understanding biomechanics. But also this weekend, we're going to be teaching the S6, and Abby and I were just talking, also bringing in more of a holistic approach on, mindfulness and really looking at the individual and understanding, ourselves, our nervous systems. And so integrating all of this, I think, is something that is unique, and that's unique with Polestar. It's not so much about a company that's going to get you to memorize repertoire or memorize that you have to do things in a certain order. It's more about meeting the individual, meeting the person, going through with what their goals and participation are, and assessing the client and helping to design a program that's specifically for them. Also, if you're looking at doing mat and reformer, also that's more about group dynamics. And so giving you teaching tools to help you with teaching group dynamics as well. So we look at the group or the individual. I think it's really important that we want to make Pilates, we want to make movement accessible to everybody. So that's why that ability to meet the person where they are and to be able to teach everybody, doesn't matter what level of condition they're in. You could be working from the elite athlete right down to the, deconditioned individual. And it's really about making a positive movement experience for everybody and making movement accessible for everybody. Do you want to add anything to that, Abby?
Um, no, I don't think so, but I do think one thing that Polestar does really well, as well is even with our fitness programs, the MAT and the Reformer, we introduce a lot of practical assessment tools. And so even though sometimes your clients are coming in to join a group, we give you some tools that you could assess them individually so that when they join the group, you've got a much better understanding about how to meet that individual where they're at. So I think that that's probably something that stands out, and also just the tools and the time that we spend teaching you how to plan and sequence exercises. So Jeannie, like what you were saying, like you know what you like for your body, but to be able to put things in an order that's going to suit a group of people or that's going to make sense in terms of moving through a sequence, you should definitely tick that box with our courses.
Great. Um, the other thing, and I think it's what Abby was mentioning, the caliber of the teachers. And so Polestar is an international company, so that's really important. So you have a qualification that's recognized. Actually, it's in over 70 countries now. I need to update this slide. And in fact, it's more than 35,000 graduates. I think it's up to about 50,000 now. So the beauty is you're part of a global your diploma, your qualification is recognized. But as well as here in New Zealand, Polestar's got a great reputation. So, for a career path, you want to have a qualification that's recognized, that gives you those career opportunities. And certainly, we're finding with our teachers, and one of our educators, she runs there's 3 studios, so she's the manager of it's predominantly a reformer studio, and she uses Moments like we use Moments as a booking system, and she can look at client retention, class retention, and pretty much she can look at all the Polestar teachers, and they've got their classes full, and there's client retention. People will come back to a Polestar teacher in her business because they've had that much more input, because you'll find now that there's a lot of people offering courses, right? There's short training courses that you can do a training in 1 day or 2 days. I can't even imagine where I would start. If you said to me, Maree, train your instructors in a day or 2 days, I seriously wouldn't know where to begin with that. And so that, to really use this at this type of learning isn't something new. It's how people learn to teach Pilates. A minimum of, 300 hours or whatever is normal. This is new, that it's short training courses. This is something that's only just happening. So it's interesting to see where that goes. But you want to have the confidence to be able to stand up in front of a group of people that walk into you, and you might be in a situation where you can't assess each client, you can't screen each client, but you're going to be presented, let's say there's 10 people in a class, to understand, here we've got a hip replacement, to understand, okay, I know I might need to do some modifications here and know how to work safely with that client. This woman's present. Oh, by the way, I've got osteoporosis. Great. Okay, I understand with you. I can modify. I'm not going to flex your spine, and I understand what's contraindicated for you. Oops, this person has got a stenosis. Okay, I know what that is, and I know how to work safely with this person. So it's having those tools and will give you that knowledge that helps you work safely and confidently of understanding how to modify somebody. So that's also what's important. Um, so I'll carry on, and there might be more things that come up with this. So part of the world, there's many more countries now that are involved. These are our sort of old licensees. So each country has a licensee and a faculty team. And so we meet regularly, so the licensees will meet, but also the faculty meets. Abbey came with me to the US, and we went to a faculty training there, as well as Shelley Power, who's the head of curriculum globally and head of the mentors globally. So we'll also do training sessions with the US. We're currently being updated. And I'm really hoping I can get Shelley and Christy Idovoy to New Zealand next year, is my plan, to bring them down to New Zealand, so we'll be able to offer workshops and training, and as well as we're entitled to a faculty meeting one a year. So I want them to come in and train our faculty as well. So we've worked very, very closely together, and that the curriculum is the same throughout the world. I'll introduce you to Brent. He's an important guy. We all love him very much. He's the most generous person you could ever meet, very wise. He's got an incredible heart. He's got the science brain, the PhD, but also he's got this really deep holistic view of the individual. I just took this off their website, so it's a little bit websitey, but I just wanted you to get a feel for Brent.
Hello and welcome to Polestar Pilates Education. We're proud to share our resources and our knowledge to help you become the best Pilates practitioner you can become. Our programs are designed to assess and work with every type of client, because Polestar is committed to making Pilates accessible to everyone. With the best educators from around the globe and thousands of graduates that have built successful careers in the Pilates world, we are sure that we can help you accomplish your goals.
So I just wanted to put a face to Brent. Okay. These are some students that trained with us. These are the mat students, actually. So after their training, I just asked them if they would mind if I just put a little camera, and if they would share their experience. And I think it's important that you hear from the students, not from me saying this is a great course, actually, but to listen to the students.
I was like, why did you choose Polestar? I chose Polestar because it was the name that repeatedly came up when talking to other Pilates teacher trainers. And after looking into it myself, just the quality and the standard and how thorough it is. And then as I'm going through myself, I'm finding that I'm understanding Pilates so much more and able to move in a better way for my body with everything that we're learning. Yeah. What about you, Ethan?
The reason that I chose Polestar is because my lecturer is actually a Polestar graduated. So she told us that actually Polestar, they have a scientific background to back up the exercise with the evidence-based research. So as a medical student, evidence-based research exercise is really important for us, especially when we want to do some rehabilitation exercise to our patients, as well as fitness exercise. So that's why I think Polestar is really suitable for like a medical profession like us to do on those patients who suffer from any low back injury or any other any other sports injuries. How about you, Michelle?
I chose it similar to you guys in that I had teachers that were Polestar trained, and I really loved how they met me where I was at. And I think having gone through the training, the same is true, where I feel like we've really been equipped to be able to look at individuals and adapt the exercises to meet them and meet them where they're at and in terms of their goals as well. So yeah, it's a really great course.
This is, if you go onto our website, you'll see that there's more testimonials from other students. So if you want to just navigate yourself around the website. So this is a little bit about the qualification course. So if we look at the MAT series, all of the courses are going to be starting on Saturday, March the 7th. Now, this is in Auckland, so anybody that's looking to train in Christchurch, these will be different dates with Abbey. So these are for Auckland. As I mentioned, Saturday the 7th of March, we're starting with the principles lecture, and the principles lecture is based on the 5 movement principles. That's really the groundwork that we apply to all of the movement and through all of Polestar's teaching. So what will happen when you register for your course, you'll get a login to the learning portal, and you'll have a lot of lectures on the portal. And so these lectures will be done by Brent Anderson, so the theory-based, looking at the 5 movement principles of control, of alignment, breathing, mobility, and movement integration. So he'll take you anatomically and biomechanically into the background of these movement principles. So you'll watch those lectures before you come to Principles Live, and then we all meet, and it's everybody together. The MAT, Reformer, and Comprehensive students will go through an 8-hour workshop of practical applications where we'll refer back to the lecture, we'll consolidate the information, but we'll also apply these movement principles into movements and practical applications. So then after that, we have the first module for MAT and the first module for Reformer. And that's where, Abbey, you could tell them a little bit about the first module, because you often fly all over the country to teach that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so MAT 1 is 2 days, 2 contact days. We usually do sort of 12 till 6, and then the next Sunday is sort of 8:30 till 4. It sort of depends on the size of the group and how quickly people are digesting the material. But the MAT 1 is a lot of the foundation pre-Pilates exercises, which set people up for moving into the more intermediate advanced repertoire, which they would get in MAT 2. We also cover the assessment tool, and we also cover some of the sequencing and programming parts of the course on that weekend also.
Yes. And then do you want to talk a little bit about MAT 2?
Yep. So MAT 2 moves into more complex repertoire, I suppose. Not that it's more physically challenging. It's kind of like if you imagine MAT 1 as the beginner, MAT 2 has the intermediate and advanced exercises. But I think what's really beautiful is when the way the course runs is when you learn that MAT 1 repertoire, and then you've got some time to digest it, and the practicum fits in between. So there's some more contact time between the 2 courses, where once you've actually gone away, you've had some time to digest the material, you can come back and talk with your educator about any questions you've had. Some of the students have particular movement patterns which they struggle with or that are challenging in their body, and that's a really good time for them to say, this one and that one and this one I'm really having trouble with, and so we can break it down. And that in and of itself is a learning process for students. And then moving into mat 2, usually their bodies are much better prepared. So we move a little bit more through more exercises. But then the second practicum is again another check-in once there's been some time to digest the material. And the practicums are really a strong point on the course because it's just a little bit more contact time without the newness of new repertoire and there's a lot to learn. We do pack a lot into those weekends, and sometimes it can feel a bit overwhelming. But because of these practicums and the process that we have, things do drop in when they're ready and when the process allows. And I suppose the reformer course is similar in terms of it being beginner through to the more challenging exercises, but there's that time in between for you to work and practice.
Yeah. So what we did with Matt, there's the principles live, and then there's 2 modules of curriculum material, and then there's 3 4-hour practicums. So that's included in your pricing, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. The reformer course is the same. The principles live, there's 3 modules. So what we've done, because we know that some people have to travel, so in order to keep travel costs down, we put it into 2 3-day training courses. So you still get your 6 days, but we've just put them into a little bit more of an intensive, like 3 days versus 2 days, so that if you're traveling, it's less flights. Also included in the reformer as well, in each course there's the practicum. So it's like you're mentoring, and it's a way that you can look at budgeting, because you do need to be mentored through the courses, and I'll talk a little bit more about that soon. And so this was a way that I could add some mentoring into the package so that you could budget. And then, there's going to be a bit of a surplus. When I go through the logbook, I'll explain, but at least a student knows on what they're going to get. And you really need to look at these contact hours. It's we've done quite a bit of work putting it together so that the contact hours that you get with Polestar is quite a lot versus some other training companies, and we've done that little bit of an investigation. I'll talk about the logbook, and then the completion of the logbook takes you to your exam. So there's for the MAT and reformer exam, so you might finish your course after your last module. You've got a year after that to complete your logbook and get ready for your exam. Students are different. Some students might be full-time working and they've got a family, so their window of getting their study done is a lot smaller than somebody else who might be able to get their logbook completed a bit quicker. So it's really about the individual student and working with you of what, also your whole life of, if you're managing family or whatever you're doing. So the exam is a theory exam. It's a 2-hour theory of multiple choice and a class design. And it's an 80% pass rate. So by the time you're ready to do your exam, if you've gone through your mentoring, New Zealand has one of the highest exam pass rates in the world. And so at the last licensee meeting, that was raised, that we're right up there, Abbey. I think one of the highest, actually. And you put that down to the quality of our educators and our faculty team. And that's why a Polestar student in New Zealand shouldn't be worried about an 80% pass rate. You then have a practical, and that's teaching and demonstration. Okay. Now, the comprehensive, same thing, principles live, and the comprehensive course is 6 modules as well as 3 4-hour practicums, and that's using all of their studio equipment. So it's all of the trapeze table, the chair, the ladder barrel, the mat work, the reformer. So it's really the flagship course, and that's really where you get the title for Pilates method teacher. If you're looking at starting your journey, starting with the MAT course is great. That's really sets you up with experience and giving you the foundation and groundwork to then consider going into comprehensive at a later time. So if you're thinking of that pathway, it's really, really cool. Some other teachers might be just focusing on group teaching. So we have a bundle for the MAT and Reformer. So you'll see that on our website that the pricing is less because you're not paying for individual courses. So you'll see that, some fitness people and who want to do group classes will consider doing the MAT and the Reformer course. And of course, there's an exam as well. Before you start your training, there are some prerequisites. And so that is that we want you to have some Pilates experience before you come on the course. So it's not new like Abbey was talking, and then you've got to process this newness. It's actually that you get some experience so that you're familiar. If you're going to do the studio course, ideally you'd be familiar with all the equipment, and of course for the Reformer and the mat. You need to have a basic understanding of anatomy and physiology. So if that's something that you haven't studied before, you would look at doing the Polestar online anatomy course. It's 10 hours. You do it in your own time. You have it in your portal. You can always go in and out of it. Or if you've studied anatomy before, that's not compulsory to do that. The prerequisites for comprehensive are the same. We do have a hybrid, and I'll talk about that in a minute, between rehab and studio. So this is the anatomy course. It's got quizzes, lectures, resources, discussions, and it's also more of a functional approach to anatomy because you're going to be teaching movement. The knowledge. So I think the strength of Polestar is the knowledge. As I mentioned before, our founder has got a wealth of rehabilitation knowledge, but it's not just that. We give you lots of help with your teaching skills. So with teaching skills, it's understanding about your communication, and we do lectures and labs on that. We have lectures in your portals and just some teaching skills, whether you're teaching in a group situation or an individual situation. We have teaching skills with using imagery in your teaching. That's a way to relate and communicate with a client that's more accessible for them rather than standing up and teaching them anatomically. So imagery really helps to teach movement, as well as we have tactile cueing. So using your hands, how to use your hands appropriately, how to, align your client using your hand or facilitating movement. So we've got a lot of tools that we share with you and a lot of knowledge that we share with you. I just want you to know that it's not like we're giving you a magic potion that right after that, poof, you're going to be an amazing teacher. It's up to the individual to really work with the information, to practice, and to really accumulate all the knowledge that you're getting and using that to then create your own voice, to apply it how it's going to work for you. But it takes work, doesn't it, Abbey? It takes, the dedication and the commitment, and that's what's going to make you an amazing teacher. Do you want to add to that, Abbey?
No, I think you've covered it all really well.
This is a little bit more about the Principles Live. I think that we're all clear on that, unless you have questions about that, but it's really the foundation. It's where we connect everything and movement. And Brent's book's going to come up. I've got my background. I'll show you that in a second. There's the book. So this is basically Brent's life work. So it's an incredible, it's not a book that you pick it up, you read a section, you put it down, and then you pick it up again. It's like an instruction manual for the body. I still have it with me. I still take it wherever I go because I like to pick up and read a chapter and go, oh my gosh, and highlight things that are really resonating with me. And every time I pick it up, I'm like, wow, something else has really landed, you know, some concept, something that's always growing and learning. So this is our textbook for the courses. So everybody that's signing up for the course, you need to access this. You can buy it from Amazon or something like that, someplace like similar. And this is really what where our work comes from.
It sort of serves as our manual for the principles of movement
Yes.
part of the course. Yeah.
So I'll quickly just show you this. So when I mentioned to you, there's the 5 movement principles. This is, in fact, one of the old movement principles, but it's still related. But this is from our old principles. We've updated it. But this is an example. You have the learning platform, and this is taken from the learning platform. So you have these lectures, and everything lands as you go into it, more and more and more and more. So if this sounds a little technical, don't worry, because we're going to use the language over and over again. So then it just becomes part of your language. But here's an example. So you have these lectures that you can go into at any time for reviewing. The resources are there for you all the time.
When we move down into the trunk musculature, we often talk a lot about this in Pilates, the powerhouse and some of these common words of the abdominals, and now more recently the transverse abdominis and pelvic floor. What I want to make very clear very early on is that muscles work to support the image of where our body is in space. They typically work subconsciously in what we call subthreshold, so we don't have maximal contractions in our body while we're just moving around through the day to open a door, lift up our child, or lift a bag of groceries. These muscles work synergistically, and the complexity of it sometimes is beyond our ability to describe it, because it's a synergy between some muscles creating stiffness, some creating acceleration, some creating deceleration, some muscles working together to bring a bone closer to another bone and create a stiffness for a preparation for a movement. So it's very complex. What we want to understand is that which muscles are responsible.
So that's an example, and that shouldn't be too scary because that's how we're going to be teaching you. So you'll watch this at home. And the beauty of it is that when you're watching these lectures, and I do this often, I love the online lectures because a concept will go by and I go, oh, what's that? And so I can pause it, I can rewind it, I can listen again. Sometimes I have to rewind a couple of times. And then you've got that support of the book. And then you're going to have the support of your educators and mentors, because this is the theory part. This is understanding the theory. And then when you start teaching the movement, having this grounding, underlying movement principles will really help you to teach movement or understand movement. And I just want to say it's a process, it's a journey. You know, as I mentioned, I've been teaching for a long time, but still I pick up that book and I'm like, wow, I've just, learned something new. Your learning journey it's to infinity. You keep learning and it will land a little bit more. And at the beginning, maybe it's, you might come with a wealth of experience and you can come and get a whole dump load truck full of information and take it on. And some people will come with just a little bit of background and not a strong anatomical background. And maybe they're going to take a little suitcase away on the first time, but you're going to build your repertoire. Okay, so that's a little bit about the lectures that you're going to have, okay? Abby's mentioned our assessment tool. So this is also unique to a Pilates training company. Rather than just teaching smorgasbord Pilates and your client comes in and you go, right, today I'm going to do footwork and I'm going to do feet and straps and I'm going to do this, this, and this. We put a little bit more structure about the client. So if you're working on an individual basis, you'll do an interview. You'll understand what your client's goals are. You'll understand what they want to participate in. And so you'll recall all of those, and then you'll do some movement assessments with your client. So you can see, let's say if you're assessing a full squat. So that gives you information if a person can execute it, and maybe they can't. And so that gives you information. And so there's how many tests now, Abby? They keep changing it on me. I think there's about 12 tests.
15, I think.
Is it? And so you've got this assessment tool that's going to help you to assess your client, and then you can design a program that's appropriate for them, where you incorporate their goals, you incorporate, if they want to play tennis, or if they want to just get down on the floor, if they're older, to bend down on the floor to play with their grandchildren. So you design a program that's all about them and only all about them. It's not just because you have to memorize a program that you give that person. You make it about the individual. Okay. The MAT series we've gone over. There's also a third module. If you are looking at doing the MAT series, the principles, module 1 and 2, are required for your qualification. We've got a third module, which is called Mat with Props. So if you are thinking of that's your starting journey, you might consider to incorporate the mats with props. And so that's a really cool course where you use the oov, you use the wobble boards, you use balls, you use springs, you use bands. Sometimes you use those props for assisting a movement. Maybe you're going to make the props to challenge the movement by, creating an instability in the movement. But that's a really cool course as well. You get all the online teaching videos and the lectures that I mentioned. It's a little bit more emphasis on group dynamics, group teaching. And the CECs, double CECs, that used to be for the logbook. So I will go over the logbook now. So here's the logbook for the MAT. And so you've got prerequisites of 25 hours. You've got online lectures, the course modules. You need to do 25 hours of observation. So if you're doing that with a Polestar mentor, there's no cost involved with that. If you're going into another studio that's not Polestar, I can't vouch that that's going to be for free, that you'd have to organize that yourself. You need to do your self-mastery practice of 50 hours. So that could be supervised on your own, taking classes. You just log those hours. This is before you do your exam. There's apprentice teaching. You do 50 hours. There's some assignments. Can you give a couple of assignment examples, please, Abby, for Matt?
Yeah, so for Matt, one of the assignments is about investigating some special populations, and I think at the moment the assignment that's set is to look into osteoporosis and also to look into spondylolisthesis. So both of these are very common conditions that people who come to Pilates might have. Mostly people know that they may have that, but sometimes they don't. And so your job as the student is to investigate why those things might happen, what causes them, what are the treatments, and then also, most importantly, what of the repertoire is appropriate for someone who perhaps had osteoporosis or spondylolisthesis, and how you might modify some of the exercises for some of those people coming into your class setting. So you have to put on your critical thinking hat and do some research and actually present a written piece of work for your educator to mark.
How many words? It's about 500 words, isn't it?
They're not long. So yeah, some of them are more short answer, 200 to 300, but I think the longest one is 500 words. Yeah.
And also we give you a lot of, so when you also in your portal, you'll have a lecture on contraindications and precautions. So we'll give you some tips on dealing with those pathologies, but they're very real, right? You're going to be presented with people with these conditions, and it's not that scary if you just know. We'll teach you, oh, okay, I know with this person I can't do this, but I can modify like this. Okay. So it's not that scary. It's just understanding what it is. The exercise checkoff. So as I mentioned, we have the practicums and in the modules. Let's say if you did module 1 and you learned all your exercises, in your logbook, all those exercises are listed for you to demonstrate and to teach. So we do a sign-off session in the modules where all the students will lie down and we'll go, okay, show me bridging, chest lift. And so all the students demonstrate. And if everything looks great, tick, tick, tick. If there's something you need a bit of feedback from the mentor, they might say, you know what? And the one that's most common is the thoracic extension. I feel like you could get a little bit more mobility. So I think we'll just work on that for a bit longer. So, the logbook's got to be completed with all your check off as well as teaching those exercises. So we have opportunities in the module, we have opportunities in the practicums to get that signed off. Now, let's say not all the exercises are signed off. This is where it gets into a grey area. This is additional cost, but I can't say it's going to be this amount. You might have somebody that's really prepared and practiced and does all the homework, and so their mentoring checkoff is going to be really quick. Let's say somebody doesn't practice, doesn't do their hours. Does that make sense? How it's a grey area. So that is the logbook. Any questions on that? Okay. This is Emily. And so the Reformer series, the
Hang on. Did you have a question, Deborah?
You have to unmute.
I may have missed it, but so I'm looking at the MAC course. There's a total of 210 to 225 hours, and then additional to that is the logbook of 125 hours. Is that correct?
No, that's all included. That's
okay.
Yeah, that's sort of like the total once you've done your logbook and your exercise checkoffs. It's around about that because we've also added in the practicums. Now, the course is probably a little bit longer because you've got that included in the hours, and that's not accounted for in those hours. Yeah.
And so how long do we have to, did you say it was a year?
Yeah, so if you finish the MAT 2, you've got 2 more practicums after that, about 12 months typically, where you just take your time, or some students are ready earlier. We sort of like to give you a target point, and you can just take your time and, because you've got to do your apprentice teaching and do your observation, and then, your mentoring of getting things signed off.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. Reformer series is the same. It's a little bit longer, as I mentioned. Just note that if you're looking to get the early bird discount, it's expiring on the 31st of January. And also, if you're looking to register, I recommend that if you've made the decision, actually register as soon as you can. And I don't even mind if you want to pay a deposit. I would rather get you started on your preparation. So if you need to do your anatomy, you could start that now. And, take time to get Brent's book, get all your resources. You have to buy Brent's book on your own, and start looking at some of the lectures. So you're really getting prepared so that when you come to start the principles live, you've done all your background and your quizzes and everything. You've looked at the lectures, so you're all good to go. I feel that sometimes students register too late in some cases. I've had students that want to register, a couple of weeks out from the course starting, and it really worries me that student becomes stressed because they've got to do all their prep work. So to really keep everything chilled and relaxed, the more you prepare, keep up to date with your assignments, keep up to date with everything, you'll be completely fine. Okay. The Reformer has the same logbook, a few more hours because it's got another module. So there's an example, the same situation with your checkoffs as well. The comprehensive series, it involves I'll show you in a second, you have all the teaching and lab lectures, and as I mentioned, it's all the apparatus and it's the same teaching lectures. There's 6 modules over 12 months. It's the full journey of assessment to program design and sequencing, and the modification of movements for all populations, and much, much more, I have to say. So I really recommend that you do the modules in person. We do have some students that Zoom in, but I think if you're looking to come, and let's say, if you're in Gisborne, I would really recommend booking a cheap flights in advance, and I'd even make them a little bit flexible if you can. just to be on site with your peers. Your educator's right there. You've got your educator, tactile cues that you'll feel, and you can really see a lot more of, with assessment and being part of your peers. So it is an option to Zoom in. I always recommend, if you can come live, is the best. Same logbook for comprehensive. Few more. It's obviously more hours. The rehab versus studio. So in order, for the comprehensive, if you want to have the rehab certificate, you have to be a rehab professional. So a physiotherapist, osteopath, or chiropractic. And the studio and rehab people are in the course together, whether it's mat, reformer, or comprehensive. And that's the way Brent wants it. He wants the hybrid. He wants everybody together, because you all bounce off one another. You're all going to come with different levels of experience. And so everybody's in together. It's the same format. It's the same discussion. The exam's a little bit different at the end. The course fee, so no doubt you've been on the platform. The pricing's gone up a little bit more because we've included more practicums into the pricing, as well as we've included the Principles Live. That's an additional course that we're doing. So that's all on the website, and we've bundled together the mat and reformer. We have payment plans. Andrew is in charge of that. So if you want to be on a payment plan after graduation, so as I mentioned, it's a recognized qualification, respected worldwide. Some people may train with us and then they might go to the UK. I then introduce you to Andre, who's the licensee in the UK. You can be part of their faculty team. You can continue studying with them. The curriculum's the same globally. Once you've graduated, you can apply to the Pilates Aotearoa professional membership, and even as a student, you can become a member, and if you're a student, it's actually for free. It opens up the door after you've graduated, to go through our mentor and training program. We've got career opportunities through studios, rehab clinics throughout New Zealand and internationally. And we know that the rehab professionals have a much higher efficacy and movement-based interventions. The science now is movement is right at the top. It's a constantly growing industry, and Polestar graduates continue to raise the bar for our professional standards. So always, as Abbey said, we're always updating and raising the bar on the quality of our teachers. Okay. The practicums, so I've mentioned those. Abbey's talked a little bit about them. That's really your mentoring.
Yeah, and oftentimes what we've done with the practicums is, once we get to know a group, they might have a particular thing that they want to work on, like they want to spend a bit more time on going through the Polestar assessment tool, or perhaps they'd like to really nail the principle of control. And so we can set up the time to do that. And there is always some time to do some of the checking off and the movement mentoring as well.
Once you've graduated, or while you're still studying, we have lots of continuing education on our website. So we've got international presenters. There's lots of different examples. I try and bring somebody in internationally each year. We just had Brent in New Zealand this year. He did some workshops with us, and as I mentioned, I'm hoping to get Christy and Shelley into New Zealand next year. You can do courses online. We've got some wonderful, and you can all join them now. I wanted to bring the community together with some educator-led mat masterclasses. So we're up to volume 5, which is Abbey Parsons. She's going to be next. Everybody's loving them. We're getting a lot of great feedback of people loving the masterclasses. Pilates Hour Yes, you can sign up to this already. So if you go onto our website, Brent does this for free. It's a weekly, he's been doing it for how long, Abby? 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's hundreds and hundreds of them. They're amazing. They come into New Zealand depending on the daylight saving at either 7 a.m., 8 a.m., or 9 a.m. If you're not available, if you're teaching, you get the recording. So you can sign up for that now. And there's some wonderful discussions, case studies, wonderful guests. So I think it's very generous and incredible that he does it. And it's for everybody. So we're going to be offering the MAT series and Reformer series in Christchurch and Auckland. I've been organising Auckland, and now I'm ready to put the dates up with Abbey for Christchurch and Auckland. This year, comprehensive only in Auckland. We tend to alternate the cities, so I'm sure that we could, look for Christchurch for comprehensive the year after next.
Mhm.
This is our beautiful faculty. This was taken this year. In fact, not everybody's there. We've got some missing. Can you see, or is that my...
Yep, can see. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, where's Emily? She's there. I know that Chanel's not there, and a couple from up north. So these people are here to support you on your journey. They're throughout New Zealand. I think it is a very unique for Polestar giving this support. These people have been, dedicated, they're passionate, they're generous, they support you, they're alongside you all of the way. This is Michelle here, Deborah, third in from Gisborne. So they're going to help and guide you through your Pilates journey. Did you hear this is an example of Shelley Power for the comprehensive course? This is what is in your learning platform, and I'll just turn this on so you get an example of every single exercise, whether you're mat or reformer. This is an example.
The hip extension exercise is going to use the tower bar. Again, we are sprung from below, so make sure you put your safety strap on and then put the spring on. And we're using the box in this first variation to provide support for the body and help with awareness and proprioception. And a lot of times people don't really know how to get true hip extension. They often either extend their spine or rotate. And so the box helps you to really feel, oh, this is how you do it. This is how you extend the hip. So Peter, bring one foot onto the bar, and I'm going to help him place his foot there. And then...
So that's an example. Did you see that okay?
Yeah, good.
Great. So that's an example that you have these teaching videos. So you'll learn all these exercises on the course, and then you'll go home and go, oh my gosh, there's a lot of information. And then you can just go, hang on a second, I can go back and review in my portal. Okay. Okay. This is a little bit about Pilates Aotearoa. Abbey and I have been part of the council. There's associations all over the world. The PMA, Pilates Method Association, is the big granddaddy one that comes out of the US. But the government needs to ensure that our Pilates standards of all education providers are up to standard. So I highly recommend that you do become involved with Pilates Aotearoa. So just in summary, become a professionally trained Pilates teacher and be part of an international community. Are you still there?
Yep.
Our teaching method is interactive, combining face-to-face lectures with hours of physical practice guided by our educators and mentors. It's focused more on problem solving rather than memorization of the choreography. And the curriculum of courses are developed and led by a team of top professionals in the field of physio, movement, and complementary therapies. And Polestar is a leader in research in the Pilates industry with over 30 years of experience in teaching. Learn to assess your clients holistically, physically, and psychologically, and walk away with the confidence to teach a range of clients, from beginners to advanced, including rehabilitation and high-performance athletes. So be part of the Polestar family and transform your career through movement. Okay, so now it's questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Lynn has asked a question on the chat, just saying, my friend who is also interested in comprehensive course and she has lower back pain. She's just wondering how to pass the exam if she can't do certain movements due to the pain.
I can just say to that I'm sure that she's going to feel by the time she's been through the course, probably that back pain is going to hopefully be resolved. So, um, I had a student that was very concerned. She had a shoulder injury. She was concerned that she wouldn't be able to come into the course. And in fact, all that it's done is made her shoulder better. So she's feeling a lot better. She's doing all of the exercises because she's grown and conditioned herself with the repertoire. But also, she's learned about good movement patterning and organization and, just changing some of those patterns that she had. And sometimes it's just that simple, right? And so but on the other hand, depending on what the back situation was, because I don't know what the situation is, we would never compromise anybody. Nobody's going to be forced to do anything that they're not comfortable with. But I would hope that they would actually gain a lot more by healing their back problem.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
She said, understand, thanks.
Okay. How are you, Deborah? You have to unmute.
I think she said she's fine.
You're just going through my notes. Do you do the first course, I understand, is in Auckland or Christchurch, 7th of March?
It's that one's in Auckland. If you plan to study in Auckland, it's on the 7th of March. It's a Saturday, 8:30 to 5:30. So I don't know if you can get a red-eye flight that gets you up early, that you want, maybe you want to just do a day trip, or whether you want to come up the Friday night before, but you could investigate that.
And how many trips in Auckland? Is it 3?
If you're looking to do the mat, you'd come up for principals.
Yeah.
And if it really was an issue, financially to buy these flights, we could talk about zooming you in for the principals. We have done that before. It is an option, but remember, I kind of feel live is awesome.
Excellent.
It's a much better experience. And then you've got the two mat 1 and mat 2.
Mm-hmm.
There are some practicums in there, like the 3 practicums. There's an option to zoom in. They're typically from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. See you, Lynn. Thank you for joining us. So it just really depends on budget. We do zoom some students in. It's, really working with you. So yeah, but definitely the modules. Yeah.
But ideally 5 in-person sessions in Auckland. Is that?
Yeah, the ultimate would be to do the practicums live also. There's a lot of depth of knowledge and you get those signing offs and things, because otherwise if you can't make the practicum, then you need to pay separately for those sign offs anyway. So ideally, if you can get up to Auckland for the practicums would be the ultimate, but the bare minimum would be the 2 mat modules and the principals live. Yeah.
And then how long would I have to, is that 12 months to complete those 6 trips, or the 2 mats, the live and the 3 practicums? Or how long should that take?
What are the dates, Maree? So normally you'll have your principals on the 7th of March.
Yeah.
And then that part of the course is usually within, like the actual physical in-person courses are within 3 to 5 months.
Okay.
And then, so like just say you started in March with principals and then you'll have mat 1 and mat 2 with the practicums. That might go through. What's the date? Do you have the date for the mat?
Just calling it up now, sorry.
So just for example, if you did your mat 2 on April the 30th, then you would have until April the 30th the next year, in a perfect world, to get your exam done. So it's sort of a year once you finish your course. Is that right, Maree?
I see.
Yeah.
I was just seeing if the dates were here.
I'll be able to find them on the website.
I'm going to go on the website. I will go on the website now and I'll share it. I was just seeing if that first slide had it. Hang on, coming to you right now.
I can see it here, Maree. So all of 2026. So the Auckland 2026 course dates are the 7th of March for the principals, and then Mat 1 is on the 28th and 29th of March. There's a practicum on the 19th of April. Mat 2 is the 16th and 17th of May.
Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to write this down. Mat 1, 28th, 29th of March.
Deborah,
It's
Deborah,
on
can you see my screen?
Oh my goodness, yes. Thank you.
So this is on the website. So when you go onto the website, I know it's a lot of information, but so I went onto courses. I came to Mat course. When you scroll down the bottom, oh, there's you, Abbey. Scroll down. Scroll down and you see the little bits down, these little plus signs. I just clicked on course locations and dates, and then you've got everything there. Yeah?
Oh, it makes sense now that you've explained it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No problem.
I'll put it in the chat too, and then it's there. I've just taken a screenshot. I think that should, yeah, then people can open that up there.
Okay.
So then you have a year from when your course finishes to do your exam.
What the bundle students do, they kind of choose the one that they want to sort of focus on for their exam. And, they might go predominantly with the MAT and do the MAT exam and then do the other exam later. I think when you're in it and you're in the course and you've got your educators and mentors that we can advise you a little bit more with it. I wouldn't worry too much about that at this point. I think at this point, look at your beginning and make that plan. Like if you did MAT and Reformer, is it that you're going to maybe are you going to work for somebody else or do you want to start MAT classes yourself? They're all the sort of questions to ask yourself. And, with Reformer, maybe you work at, because it's quite nice rather than going out on your own. I always encourage an apprenticeship working under somebody like Vanessa. Let's say if she's offering Reformer classes to try and do an apprenticeship there and just, start that way. Then.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming, Abbey.
Right, nice to meet you, Deborah. I'm sure I'll bump into you at some point.
Thank you, Abbey. So, Deborah, have a little mull over and we'll send the recording. And then if you want to have a private phone call, I can set up a phone call with you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Maree. You've been amazing. I appreciate you.
It's a lot of it. I know that it's a lot of it. I know it's a lot of information. And at the beginning, it's like, oh my God, what is all this? It's kind of you've been presented now with all the information, but it's the background of the company, and there's lots and lots of teachers that have been on the pathway. You've got I'll email you with Michelle.
Thank you.
Well. And if you can email me and say, Maree, would you book up a time and that we could just talk on the phone and go over this?
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
Okay, anytime. If we could do it next week, I'm preparing for teaching this weekend, so I'm really happy to sit and talk with you next week if you'd like to.
I would love that. Thank you.
Okay, let's do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.